Good morning. It is Tuesday, October 21st. We are knee-deep in fall. I'm wearing a sweater, and yet it's going to be 84 degrees today in California, and I'm ready for the cooler weather to start. So the Old Lady podcast is about me, an old lady, just talking about old lady shit. And forgive me if that word offends you, because in our household, all words are celebrated. The shorter or the longer, the better. This week, it was quiet here around here. Sam had some rehearsals. We have a concert on Sunday. Not we, me, but we meaning the family, because Sam is singing in a concert on Sunday, Halloween concert. I mean, you gotta love when people sing medieval music and at a Halloween concert, but I love it. We were tootling around with William, had a great time with him. He's always fun to have drop by and hang out. Sam, being a professional singer, is really in with the choral community in Los Angeles. I'm in with the choral community in Long Beach a little bit, not very much, a little adjacent. Sam knows people. So the other day he says, I've invited my friend Dominic that I know from the Los Angeles Master Chorale to come over and present his original music to us in a house concert. I'm like, house concert? You mean I don't even have to get dressed? He's coming over here. Yes, he's coming over here. So this absolutely adorable young man came over and he explained to us that he's written these 8 or 9 songs, and he decided that he wants to perform them in a club at some point. But to prepare himself, because he's a musician, he's going to practice the concert experience. Not just the songs, but the actual concert experience. So he decided that 30 house concerts prior to his big debut would be a good number. So we were house concert number 15, and it was really fun. He brought his electric guitar and an amp, and we had a mic, and we sat in the Casbah outside while he entertained us.
I don't know if I got the strength to continue. I'm so scared to go it alone. And wisdom will say it's already within you. But these days I'm so far from home.
You know, it's one thing to be a great musician and to show up at someone's house and plop out original music. I mean, that's huge, right? He also happened to have a really cute personality. So I think he's going to do really well because he can banter with the audience. And goodness knows, as Julia said to me the next day, were we a little too much? Yes, we were. But he told us he wanted to practice. And we were a good, annoying audience to practice with. That was our fun activity of the week. So let's talk knitting. I'm about to do something I have never done before. You know, in reading, when we don't finish a book, we call it DNF, did not finish, right? I'm going to DNF these socks. These are the socks that I started, they're a hot mess, that I started 2 at a time. I made it all the way to the heel flap until I didn't do them 2 at a time. And yeah, they're cute, but okay. It's supposed to be a fade. It's supposed to go from one color to another color. And the fade is not happening, and we have this weird fade at the top. So I'm officially not going to finish these socks because life is too short to knit a pair of socks that are just not working. So I got some creative inspiration. What I do is I have a big bin with yarn in it, and I will pull open this bin. It probably weighs 45 pounds. And I put it up on my bed, and I kind of pull out skeins and I look to see if they match or they go together, and I try to get ideas, and sometimes I can visualize a pattern with them, sometimes I can't, but the yarn speaks to me is when it wants to be knit. I know that's a weird thing to say, but I'm weird. Sorry. I'm so sorry to break that to you. So I started what I am going to be calling my Swamp Witch socks. Swamp Witch. Aren't those fun? Yeah. So this is just scraps of yarn. In fact, remember the chicken socks from, that's this. And then I'm just doing different stitch patterns. Anyway, so much more fun. I did that in 2 days as opposed to the other ones that were just, I hated to pick them up. Knitting is about creativity. And I think if we focus too much on reaching the end goal, I mean, obviously you want to finish things, but if it's not feeling right, if it's not working right, you put it down. There's no point in forcing yourself to do something that you're not enjoying, especially since there's no penalty for not finishing it, right? I'm the only person administering penalties, and I don't believe in those. So there you go. The reading situation. Okay. So I finished a bunch of books last week. I told you about them. I don't even remember where they are at this point because that was last week. So when I finished these, it was the Thursday Murder Club book that I absolutely loved. And I don't remember if I had finished it at that point, but I made that last as long as I possibly could because I didn't want it to end. These are my friends. And now that I've seen the Thursday Murder Club movie more than once, they still don't match up with the people in my brain, with one exception. No, I can kind of see Helen Mirren as Elizabeth, but I picture Elizabeth taller. So she's not entirely the way I picture Elizabeth in my head, Elizabeth Best, the spy, the retired spy. But the person I think that has really captured the character was Pierce Brosnan as Ron. Oh my gosh, that's how I totally see him in my head now. Anyway, I love that book. It's just hard when you're in the middle of a series and you have to wait for the author. And these are complicated mysteries. So I'm sure that Richard Osman has flow charts and whiteboards and all kinds of things as he's plotting these things out. Which brings me to the next book that I finished. So as I was wandering around looking for something to read, I thought I need a new cozy mystery series. I know nothing is going to be Thursday Murder Club or Marlowe Murder Club or any of those, but I need something. So I found this series called The Home Front Sleuths. And I started the first book, which is called The Blackout Murders. So obviously this takes place in World War II in England, and we've got wartime things, rationing and da-da-da. I have to tell you, though, I listened to this book in 2 days because it was that bland and banal that I could totally do other things, even hard things, while I was listening to it. And I kept waiting for the big mystery, the big tension, the big, are they going to figure it out? I kept waiting for the complicated clues. I kept waiting for the red herrings. Nope. They solved the case, and that was it. And I'm still trying to figure out what the big whoop was about this. We were introduced to characters, but not terrifically deeply. And we didn't really understand how they all interconnected until the very, very, very end. And I'm just like, I don't know that I have the spoons to keep going with this series. Granted, it is the first book. You will be able to get this in the library, although why you would want to, I'm not entirely sure. It was written, I think, 2015. There are 3 or 4 books in this series now. I may read the second one, but probably not, because there are other books. Life's too short to read a book you don't want. Life's too short to knit what you don't want. Life's too short to do most things you don't want to, unless it's an obligation for a job or a family or something like that, right? Okay. So I picked up Limelight again. As you recall, I talked about this book about a month ago that I had started it and then I set it down. I even got the author wrong in my video. It's Amy Pupple, and she writes really, really fun books, not dissimilarly from Sarah Goodman Confino, who is another author that I absolutely love, and her new book is up next for me. Anyway, I picked up Limelight again. And I really like it. It's not at all what I thought it was going to be. It is about a young man, an 18-year-old pop star, who is cast to perform in a new musical on Broadway. And he's kind of a butt. He's kind of a pain in the butt. And he needs some mothering. And so the female main character comes in and becomes his personal assistant. And it's really a story of how this young man matures and grows and eventually performs on Broadway. I've only got an hour left in the book, and I'll finish that today. But that's cute. That's a cute one. If you want something light-ish, contemporary, with name-dropping of celebrities. They're not they're kind of in the book, but not really. Kevin Kline shows up, and he's always a good one. I was reading on Substack some of the people I read about reading, because reading about reading, as we have discussed, is an entirely different hobby than reading. It's about 50-50 for me. So I was reading one of my very favorite Substacks, which I will link in the bottom, and she was talking about reading Lily King's new novel, Heart the Lover. I've only read one Lily King book, and that was about 3 or 4 years ago. I read Euphoria, which I'm trying to remember. I know it has to do with scientists, maybe the Leakeys or something like. Anyways, a great historical fiction. She writes tight literary fiction. Her sentences are gorgeous, and the way she says things. She uses sparse writing in such an effective way. So this book, Heart the Lover, it's only about 250 pages. It's very short. It is read by the person who reads most of her books. And this woman, I can't think of her name right now. I'll put it up here. Does such an outstanding job with this sparse prose. Anyway, this book is fantastic. It's about a woman. We don't even know the woman's name. She's the main character, and she has a relationship with two different guys. She's in college. Okay, college fiction. Has a relationship with Sam, has a relationship with Yash, and they're very different in how they interconnect. It's a romance, but it's literary fiction romance. So I highly, highly recommend this book. Absolutely gorgeous. Most of you could read it in one day. So, Heart the Lover, Lily King. I plan on reading more of her back catalog because her writing just is really beautiful. And sometimes, amidst all the feel-good, light, cozy things, it is a wonderful thing to be able to step in and sink into those sentences that are just, you kind of go, I wish I could write like that. Anyway, that Lily King, Heart the Lover. Loved it. I'm in that situation now where I've got Heart the Lover. I'm almost done with that. And I've got the Amy Pupple book that I'm almost done with. So we're back to finding the next read. And I don't have any ideas. I have things, I use Goodreads. For those of you who don't know, I keep track that. I started using that about 18 years ago, whenever Goodreads started. And I started tracking my books there. So I have a million things on hey, maybe you should consider reading this list. I don't even call it a TBR, to be read. It's more of a, hey, here's a suggestion for a book that once upon a time you thought looked interesting. And so I'll look through things that I've put on my want to read list. And I'm pretty good about tagging books in there because that helps me when I'm in the mood for something. I can just go down my list and go, I'm in the mood for a cozy. And I can see all the ones I've categorized or tagged as cozy, and that just makes it more interesting because fundamentally I really enjoy organizing my information. Speaking of organizing my information, I pulled the plug on a new MacBook. So the saga of the MacBooks. Children, sit at my knee and I will tell you the saga of the MacBooks. In 2011, right before I moved to California, to move with my sister from Utah to California, Carolyn texted me and she said, hey, I've got a student who is selling his old MacBook for $400. I highly suggest you buy it. I was like, okay, if Carolyn says go, I say okay. It was I think it was a 3 or 4 year old model at the time, but I paid $400 for it. I mean, ridiculous, right? I used that thing. Oh man, I used that thing for about 4 years, and then I upgraded to another MacBook, which lasted about 7 years. And when I say lasted, let me explain this. It's not that they break or anything like that. It's what happened. It was me. I started doing other things that required a whole lot more gumption in my laptop than what I had. I started doing video editing, all the things that require RAM and space and stuff. So in 2018, when my sister passed, I bought a new MacBook at that point, and that was great. It lasted me until about 2020, 2020, about that time. I noticed it was getting really hot, and I was taking it in and getting it refurbished, and the fan wouldn't stop. And the guy said, "You're just asking this to do too much. You're putting too much strain on the book." And I was like, okay, well, what do I do now? Well, about that time, Julia started her MBA program, and she decided she would buy herself a laptop to use during the MBA program. Well, things happened, and she got her laptop, and then she was given a laptop for work. And it's a PC, not a Mac. And that jived better with what she was doing at school. So she ended up using her work laptop for school. She's still using it. And I kind of took over her laptop, which is the one I'm recording on right now. But even that, I was running out of room, not enough room on the hard drive. I'd have to plug in a standalone hard drive, and it wouldn't stay plugged in. And it was a mess. And Julia's graduating in 8 weeks. This is countdown, 8 weeks. So I thought it's time for me to pull the trigger and actually buy the MacBook that I want and that I need. And I've been saving my money, and I was able to buy this with cash. And it's coming today. And I'm very excited because I bought the tippy top of everything. Because this has got to last me. This has got to last me at least 8 or 9 years, because it's going to take me that long to save up that much money again. So that's coming today. So I will be knee deep in my new computer, and I'm very excited. We backed up this one yesterday. Everything worked great, and it'll be easy peasy to make that switch. I'm sure you really wanted to know the tale of the MacBook. My sister was an early adopter of Apple. She had one of the little boxy Macs, and I wish we still had that, but we don't. And so she was always in the position of encouraging me to move to the Apple side, and I'm very grateful I did. I will never go back to PC, ever. And so that's where we are. So that is your technological update of the day. We had the No Kings rally on Saturday. I did not participate. I kind of wish I had. Long Beach was very peaceful. My daughter was just a little bit anxious about dragging me into a crowd of people. We didn't know what we would be up against. And I don't blame her. But also, my sister and her son went to one in Colorado. And my nephew and niece went to one up in Oakland. So it was a great day. And if you participated, I'd love to hear about your experiences. What an important time in our lives as Americans right now, to stand for the Constitution, to stand for democracy. It's not so much that we're against a person. We are against an ideology, the ideology of authoritarianism, of fascism, of control. It doesn't take a whole lot of conscious thinking to realize the situation we're in. But we keep on going. We spread love and kindness and compassion. We are open and accepting. We love. And that is the most powerful medicine there is. So may your lives be filled with joy and laughter and happiness. Eat some good food this week, people. Have a good beverage, whatever it is, your choice of beverages. For me right now, it's going to be a glass of grapefruit juice. Big times. Anyway, have a wonderful week. You are in my heart and in my prayers. May all be well with you. Bye-bye.